Dear fifth semester English major students, today in this video tutorial, we are going to discuss the play The Ash Girl by Timberlake Wattenbaker. It's an introductory class, a bird's eye view of what the play is about. So in front of you is the title slide, The Ash Girl, Timberlake Wattenbaker, an introduction. So let's go to the slides. First of all, the period. Which period does this particular play belong to? It was first presented in the Birmingham Repertory on 8 December 2000. So it's not a play from the remote past. It's a contemporary period within the 50 years or so from now. So the play The Ash Girl is a contemporary play. Coming to the genre, what type of play it is? Of course, it's a play, so it belongs to the dramatic genre. It's a retelling. We will explain these terms one by one. It can be considered a fable, a fantasy, a fairy tale, an allegory, and also as a Bildungsroman. These are the different categories which overlap, which merge, which converge as far as this play, The Ash Girl, is concerned. Now, let's see what these actually are. A retelling is also called a revision, sight. So looking at it from a different angle, telling it from a different perspective. So connecting the play, connecting something that was told earlier to the modern context. This particular play is, of course, a retelling of the Cinderella story, which is a fairy tale based on folklore. So all of us are conversant with the Cinderella story, the exploited stepdaughter, and how she ultimately transforms magically in the fairy tale. This is aligned to the modern context, and hence it's a retelling. It's a modern day fable. It's a story with a moral, a message. The Ash Girl is down in the dumps, down in the ashes, but then there is a phoenix-like regeneration out of the ashes. So that transformation, the message is that the transformation comes from within, not from magic and the fairy mother alone. It has to be an internal change. It is also considered to be a fantasy. There are features of the magical and supernatural elements in the play. So you can consider it as a retelling, a modern day fable, a fantasy. Also, of course, as we said, it's a retelling of a fairy tale. So fairy tale elements continue in it. It's a children's story about magical and imaginary beings and lands, a fairy story. It's like in Grimm's fairy tales or Andersen's fairy tales. So the Cinderella story is here retold. It retains elements of the fairy tale. When you read it, you feel like you are in that fairy land. Of course, it's an allegory. It has layers of interpretations, as we shall see when we discuss the themes. You can take it at a literal level. You can take it as a moral allegory, an allegory of transformation, allegory of embracing and accepting the world. Then it's a Bildungsroman as well, you can say. No, Bildungsroman, of course, strictly speaking, is a kind of novel where you show the development of a character. Here, it's also at a broader level, The Ash Girl, though as play, it can be considered a Bildungsroman, a psychological and moral growth of the protagonist from childhood to adulthood is represented here. So let's go to the next slide. The plot and structure. Now, as far as the plot or a structure is, the plot, of course, shows the transformation of the Ash Girl from the ashes to her marriage to the prince, and also the altogether coming out of her own self-created complexes into a developed, matured character, coming out of her trauma and healing herself and forgiving. So that's what the plot is about. As far as the structure is concerned, it is a play in 2 acts, 11 scenes each. In the first 11 scenes, you see the descent, then the ascent, phoenix-like regeneration of the Ash Girl. So plot and structure we continue. So descent and ascent we said. Now, if we are to take that Freytag's triangle sort of thing, how the plot reveals, we can say the exposition. There's a typing mistake here. Exposition. The Ash girl's suffering is the exposition. We see her suffering in the absence of her father, in the hands of her stepmother and her stepsisters. As far as the rising action is concerned, there's the announcement of the ball by the Prince Amir. Then climax, the ball and Ash girl's transformation, magical transformation, and also inner transformation. The following action is search for identity and confrontation with inner demons. And finally, you have the denouement, where she comes out of her trauma and is a mature, forgiving, fully developed individual, ready to embrace the world, coming out of her shell. As far as the themes are concerned, we have already seen it's a good versus evil, inner conflict in every person. The conflict here is more inner. The Ash girl has to contend with her own demons inside. The 7 deadly sins are here presented in personified forms, but they are the forces inside, the temptations inside us that we need to win. We need to conquer. Self-acceptance and inner strength, another theme. Yeah, the Ash girl finally accepts her condition instead of self-pitying. She transforms herself into a strong individual. So transformation and redemption, moral and emotional growth. And then, of course, at the beginning, we see the isolation and loneliness of in the absence of her father, how she was in the ashes, consigned to the ashes almost. Yeah, temptation and moral choice, love and forgiveness at the end. At the end, she comes out of all her demons, trauma, and accepts life with love and forgiveness. The feminine identity and empowerment is a very important thing. The mother's role, how she trains her daughters to be attractive, so that they can attract a husband. The roles, gender roles that are identified here. So that feminine, that you can say the beauty myth about women having to be thin, etc. These are, and how men, how there is need of solidarity among the women and empowerment of women. These are issues that enrich the fairy tale. It becomes a very complex tale. Also, the author with the character of Prince Amir, who is in exile here. He is from Arabia, but now in this quiet country, there is the theme of war, exile, cultural displacement. Very much included in this fairy tale to make the fairy tale a very rich, complex, and layered play. Then how it's a retelling of a fairy tale. Remember, it's not that original fairy tale, it's a retelling, so there will be deviations. Commonalities, we know, of course, there are fairy tale elements, fantasy elements, the transformation. These are common elements, but there has to be deviations. These deviations are, first of all, it's not a simple rags to riches story as it is in the fairy tale. It's a psychological healing, very complex, inner struggle, moral growth. Fairy godmother insists that the Ash girl has to do the inner work herself. That makes it different. The inner transformation. It's a comment on the modern society, how we have to deal with our traumas, temptations, self-pitying, etc., and have to struggle and come out of our shells. Then the characters are here very complex, not in black and white as they are usually in the fairy tales. The stepmother, the stepsisters are also not in black and white. They are layered characters. They are not purely wicked. They are victims of their own insecurities, and they are also victims of the patriarchal structures, the conditioning of the society. So yeah, they need unlearning, but they are not outright cruel. They are in some way representatives of the societal forces. Then another deviation is here: the Prince Charming is not the rescuer in that sense, actually, as it is in the fairy tales. It's an egalitarian romance where the prince and the Ash girl are more on a level playing field. They're equals, because the prince himself is suffering. He is in exile. He finds himself in a sort of a culturally alien atmosphere with nobody around him. Nobody calling on him, and he holds this ball, inviting everybody, and there he falls in love with this girl who has been in trauma, marginalized, in the ashes. So it's an egalitarian romance. Then, yeah, the deviations continue. We have already said the global ethical concerns like war, exile, cultural displacement. These are alien to the fairy tale. These are modern day concerns. The Timberlake, Warden Baker includes this in this play. Of course, we have, again, it's a repetition. We here the whole thing is looked at with the feminist lens. Stepmother tutoring her daughters, as I said, patriarchal notions are questioned that way and also ridiculed. Transformation here is not just magical, romantic, but psychological and moral, as we have already seen. Let's now come to an outline of the story. What this story is about. We have seen the different aspects, genres, time period, deviations, etc. Now, a very brief outline. The Ash girl lives with a cruel stepmother and two stepsisters in poverty and grief. When the prince holds a ball, she secretly attends with the help of the fairy in the mirror and other creatures. The story weaves into seven deadly sins as literal demons tempting the characters. Ash girl and the prince must face their inner fears and guilt to find love and forgiveness, turning the fairy tale into a story of self-discovery and healing. So it's a fairy tale of self-discovery and healing. So we have in this short phase gone through the whole play, the various aspects, various dimensions of the play, various textures, various layered interpretations, and the outline as well. I hope this short this short briefing in a way will help you to go deeper into the play and find more deeper layers of meaning. So that was it, a very short introduction. Hopefully will help you in your exams and also in appreciating the play. So thank you very much. Hope to meet you again in one of these classes. Thank you.